How you doing? I'm about 20 days shy of like 1 year since well, I don't even know if when I first did it I could say I was a Christian, because I still sort of say, oh, I'm not, I say I'm trying to be or whatever, but I know I'm sure I'm way far beneath it. But just in terms of where my head and soul and spirit are at as far as who I would align myself with. So if we could say it that way, right? And so, what's coming to mind is kind of all of these, let's sum it up, ideas, kind of what is really going on, and taking stock of things, I guess I could say. And in terms of things that have changed really dramatically, I mean, I was looking back at some really old videos, and just certain sort of things about getting away from, Baha'i faith, and then having just a completely different view of time, and just constructs of society and history and all kinds of stuff, whatever. That at one time they were so specifically one way, and then now I can't even remember what they were like, almost as if, even though, there I was for 18 years, right? But it's almost like, to think of it, I'm like, what was that? Or, like certain parts of what I read that had been considered scripture, I don't even think of them, or it wouldn't even come to mind unless I like really, really thought of it. I think maybe I know now half a dozen prayers, whereas like before it was like, at least 20. Um, and sometimes certain words still do creep into my head. They kind of float in and out, but I kind of think of what the definitions of them are, and so then they don't bother me as much, and I'm not scared of them or something. So, they're not unsavory in any manner. They're just accompanied in that, other way in my own mind, but not a real trouble or bother. So it's just kind of like a vestige, I guess. And things that, used to frustrate me about Christians, looking at it from outside, especially, I would sit in observance so very much. Like, I would watch people's comments if they were, going back and forth with someone. I would really, really watch what they would say and how they would respond, and what aspects they would bring up, or how they would open up through a conversation rather than just lead them down a pointed specific, here's my question so that you have to answer this way. And I would really watch those, because to me those were the examples of, what they really believed in, as opposed to what they thought they believed in, or wished that they believed in, or claimed that they believed in, or the ideology, or what have you. And I guess I could say that that was one of the ways that I really keyed into, who would I look at as a person that I could kind of listen to. And sometimes I would listen to a person because I didn't agree with them. And I still do that, actually, on a fairly regular basis. And tonight I don't know if I was saying I was trying to find somebody I disagreed with, but I was watching something, and I might put this in the comments for you guys to see. Lisa Ling was doing some kind of a piece about faith healers, and she was interviewing this one particular minister guy. And I'm not saying that I at all agreed with anything that he said, or some of the responses of what were the things that his church-going believers that had gone to this, I guess, conference of his or whatever. But what was fascinating to me was watching what happened afterwards. There was one man who had gone there. He was paralyzed from his waist down, and he had thought that this one particular night, which was the end of like a 4-day, I guess, revival or something they call it, was going to be when he was going to walk. And he even said it in these terms: I thought this was going to be my night. And I thought, oh, no wonder. We don't own nights. God owns the night and the day. But I knew what he meant. But, kind of my over semantic brain took over. But then what happened out of him not getting the healing that he had expected in the way that he had expected it, he took that somehow and had offered it to Lisa, and she had him put his hands on her. And she said that she was receiving some kind of a blessing from him or something. And it was really gorgeous, because the only thing that I saw right then was the love they were exchanging, and it had nothing to do with, the philosophy, or if it was right, if it was wrong. It was like, it didn't matter at all. And it reminded me of one thing that I've experienced as a parent, and one thing that I experienced as a child. So, and I'll do it in the order that I experienced them. My grandparents for a period of time lived in Kankakee. Like City of New Orleans, that song, Train Rolls Out of Kankakee, that's where they lived. So I used to go to the country to visit my grandparents. And they have a water tower with a smiling face on it. Anyways, so, running around all this wide open space, which it's funny because that's like what that place name means in Potawatomi or something. I'd be a horrible mess. And my grandmother would always make me take a bath before I would come to dinner. And I remember even sometimes like trying to sneak into the dining room and sit down, and she'd be like, no. And I would have to wash up. And so it, there was always something of, okay, if I'm going to be a part of, what's going on, I have to make myself presentable. Okay. So that was that. Well, one of the things that I watch happen between my kids and me is that they teach me more about God than nearly any other experience I've ever had. And one of them was just recently, I'd sort of summed it up in my mind. One of them was doing something, I don't remember, and the other one was correcting them for it. And the one who corrected is the one who I looked at and I said, nai nai, which Japanese nai means no. And they're like surprised. And then I said, yeah, that's my job. You don't have to talk to your brother that way. I can do that. You can hang back and be a kid. And I was thinking about that in terms of, we're welcomed. And I can't imagine that God would really care how much we understand so much, because we're so far below the level of any kind of understanding. And to get into any kind of misunderstanding or squabble about what something means is so unimportant that it's, for him to correct, I think, ultimately. But there's this like part of when you grow up that, it's like that it's like that teenager enforcer. It's like, gotta be right, gotta correct it. And I just think that he would so much more concentrate on that love. And I think about different things that I have learned, and that they didn't ever so much come from someone else's mouth, really. It was always something that occurred to me later on my own, either just me on my own or me asking in meditation or something. Maybe when I was walking, sometimes I ask for a sign in nature and I'll get them, which is kind of a strange thing. Or whatever it is. Specifically though, I remember as a kid that was like the each of them correcting one another things was one of the biggest things that as a Jew we just looked at the Christians and thought, oh boy, they're just such a mess because they'll just argue over, and I don't know why this joke was always said, but how many how many angels could dance on the head of a pin. And that was always one of the reasons that we said they were so feeble, because when a child is lost, you don't leave them. You know you can hand them a map or show them how to use the compass or whatever it is, or you can just walk with them, but you certainly don't leave them to their own. So all these things kind of are related somehow, and maybe if they are to you, you'll know why. I'm just babbling, and I'm probably doing a lot of both. So I didn't get to go to Paraclesis or they both pronounce it both ways, so I don't know what to say. I was too tired. So tomorrow I hope I can go to choir rehearsal, and then the weekend is going to be all about the icon, that's for sure. So if anybody still has any prayers they want me to say, please feel free to let me know, because I hope that I spend my whole time there praying for everybody else and anybody else other than me, so that I don't keep my mind on me. Anyways, healing prayers for a couple of people who definitely need them tonight, and look forward to hearing from you. Take care. Peace.